You are welcome to another episode of LFN What's Your Say? The leading listening show where we discuss important issues with important people like you. We are still featuring R. Kelly. Real name Robert Sylvester Kelly. Also known as the R&B King. One of our major concerns throughout the two trials against R. Kelly has been the way government has cunningly twisted what would have otherwise been civil matters, and repackaged them as federal crimes in order to maximize whatever penalty R. Kelly may be given and ensure he is locked up for the rest of his life. If you take a closer look at the events described to have led to R. Kelly's indictment also highlighted during the various interviews that constitute the Surviving R. Kelly documentary, and compare them to the actual charges that were placed against him, you will notice a huge discrepancy and therefore a rift between the two. In fact, until today, case critics still wonder how government was able to successfully concoct Mann Act, RICO, and forced labor charges out of whatever stories that were told by the documentary actors. All we could hear from these stories was regrets of women scorned and nothing criminal in nature. Except when some chose to tell lies about their ages so they would be regarded to have been underage at the time they dated R. Kelly. But even then, it was later on discovered that most of these were lying and that in fact they had been women of legal age when they encountered the R&B King. Their stories therefore leave us wondering how exactly the government managed to draw out RICO and Mann Act charges that were completely alien to the case against R. Kelly, and how these rather bogus and unrelated charges ended up dominating the indictment. There is no doubt that government, which was driven by the agenda to simply take down R. Kelly and destroy him forever, felt that the actual stories told by the women they assembled in a TV series only described misdemeanors that could not get him the life in prison sentence they had envisaged, and they therefore had to think around the clock and get creative to find serious federal charges in which they could embed these claims, and forge a way towards the complete destruction of the R&B King, which was their initial goal in the first place. One may wonder why the government may be interested in R. Kelly's downfall, but many factors come into play to explain why this is actually happening to him. The racial crackdown on successful black people in this country has been a matter of discussion for a while now, and there seems to be a reason why we are seeing black millionaire mansions being raided, and cases of this nature becoming common among our communities. Critics suggest the crackdown on these R people is always timely towards their old age, to ensure that black wealth is not left behind for multi-generational inheritance, which could lead to indestructible empowerment of the entire community in the years to come. We will have another day to discuss and exhaust this contentious matter so as to understand why there seems to be a pattern of events to ensure our wealth is not transferable to those that come after us. Meanwhile, it's exciting to learn that one of the New York appeal judges was able to observe this very same behavior from government that we have been speaking on now for 5 years. And that is how the government officials appear to be manufacturing federal charges out of civil matters, and not just federal charges but very consequential federal crimes being described here. This came to light when the appeal court was discussing matters of forced labor charges levied against R. Kelly by the same government that concocted the false RICO and Mann Act charges. It appears that the government wants the court to believe that each time a man engages in forceful sexual contact with a woman, then it qualifies to be called forced labor. The government, however, forgets that for forced labor to apply, there must be a pattern of events that involves work or service for a low pay or for no pay at all that has gone on repetitively over a period of time. In R. Kelly's case though, the forced labor allegations only describe one-time events of sexual contact, which immediately disqualifies their categorization as forced labor. In Geronda's case, for example, her story suggests that on this fateful day when she had annoyed and disrespected R. Kelly, he forced her to perform oral contact on him. What she does not say is that she refused to do it but R. Kelly insisted, that she told him she did not want to do it, or that this had been happening several times over a long period of time in order to qualify it as a possible case of forced labor. She also doesn't mention anything to make us believe that this was a job she would otherwise be paid for. A man getting angry with a woman this one time and demanding that she does something for him does not make him guilty of forced labor. Unless the government is trying to suggest that an angry couple should abstain to avoid such legalities from catching up with the man. And when it comes to Faith Rogers' case, it's even more disturbing because these were two adults in a romantic relationship who had been happily indulging in sexual relations in different places, during which no party forced the other to do anything they didn't want to do. Just because this one time the woman found a gun lying on the table does not quickly turn what was routine pleasurable sex into forced labor. Even though Rogers claims she was unnerved by the presence of the gun, she still doesn't say anything to suggest that she was forced to do what she didn't want to do, or that there was a pattern of similar events to justify the charges. She doesn't even say anything to suggest R. Kelly expressed interest to use the gun against her. It could have been something else. Maybe a dog or a cat that could also make her feel unnerved. Would this also be called forced labor just because there was a dog that unnerved her? We cannot say that every time a woman finds something scary at her boyfriend's place they should be charged with forced labor. We just cannot do that. It was rather amazing to learn that the female appeal judge had also noticed the government's tendency to manufacture irrelevant federal charges out of unrelated events, all in an attempt to destroy the R&B king, as he would have to face completely different consequences from what would be appropriate. In her own words, the appeal judge said the following.
Predicate acts were to the enterprise.
So I'm a little concerned about applying the forced labor statute in this context, because it seems that you run the risk of really federalizing all kinds of state sexual assault and being able to turn it into federal offenses with much different consequences for the individuals. Can you address that concern?
Yes, of course.
According to Timothy Whitfield, this is why people here don't trust the government. I feel before you take anyone's life, please investigate everything. The judge didn't do that at all, taking away his money in prison and giving it to the ladies in this case. Now the truth is coming out that they lied on this man, charging him with RICO when he was the only one charged and therefore with no enterprise. The law is clear. Also, denying him bail when he is clearly not a flight risk at all was an act of prejudice. R. Kelly is being framed, and I am glad the appeal judges can see this. If you wish to take part in a live interview discussing any of these topics, let us know by sending an email to sashalfnmedia@gmail.com for scheduling. Thank you for watching today's video, a production of LFN Media, giving you another perspective of issues at hand. We make it our business to keep you updated with the truth amidst the cloud of lies the media wants you to believe. It is therefore important to subscribe to this channel, hit the bell icon and allow all notifications so that you don't miss out whenever we publish a new video.